All right. Well, hello, everybody. This is the Maine Hockey Report brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. I'm your host, Benjamin Kennedy, live stream style tonight with Mr. Michael Keeley, voice of the Maine Mariners, joining us, taking a little time away from his summer schedule. Mike, thank you for being here, man. How are you?
Good, Ben. Been missing you, man. We were going two or three broadcasts a week there for a couple of weeks together, and haven't seen you for a few weeks has been weird. But I've been listening back, reminiscing, and just doing some self reflection the last couple of weeks. So it's been nice to get some rest. Obviously, much needed rest, but it always is. I don't need a very long off season. I get that hockey fever pretty quickly and ready to get started again. Even though technically I guess the Kelly Cup Finals are still ongoing.
Yeah, I guess for a minute, right? It looks like Kansas City got pretty sizable lead already in that one, 2-0. But yeah, man, it's been we had a good stretch there where I was probably seeing you more than my child. So it's but it was all for good stuff, right? We're obviously going to get into it, but before we do, you've had 2-3 weeks to kind of decompress. And I know you don't take the full summer off. I know you guys are working 12 months out of the year, but how's the little bit of a break been so far for you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, much needed. I think I kept telling people after the Game 7 loss, the next morning, it all hit me, right? It like all that emotional weight you're carrying from playing so many games, broadcasting in my case, so many games in so few days, and you're kind of just in autopilot, for lack of a better term, and then it just comes to an end and it's over like that. So that was an adjustment, but the rest was needed. We're fortunate enough to have summer Fridays here in the summer in the office. So we get 3-day weeks. Obviously, at a 4-day, should say 3-day weekends. We had a 4-day weekend, Memorial Day weekend, of course. So, trying to enjoy some of the nice weather here. Looks like it's really going to get nice over the next week. And made a trip home to Rochester, New York to see my family. Now obviously as the calendar flips to June, we aren't too far away from re-signing period. So we'll be thinking about next season pretty soon, but it's definitely a much needed rest. I can't imagine how the players feel after the grind. It was 14 playoff games in 25 days. That's pretty remarkable. So kudos to them for going as hard as they did there. And hopefully they've taken some time to appreciate the great season that it was.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just thinking now, of course, the draft, NHL draft is in Buffalo this year. You planning to go out and use your media credential, go get in there a little bit or what?
Yeah, I'll just pull out that ECHL credential. I'm sure
You
they'll
never
let
know,
me
right?
in.
Flash it real quick. They'll never know, right?
No, it's exciting to have it there. And obviously Buffalo was kind of put back on the map as far as hockey with the run that the Sabres had. And the city kind of came alive again for them. And they've really done a nice job down there with the Harbor Center and the downtown area there, kind of building it up around KeyBank Center. And so the timing couldn't be better, I'm sure, for the Sabres to host the draft with all the buzz that's been going around. And it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, no doubt. And we can certainly talk a little Sabres here later on here in the broadcast. But yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit reverse mode where I get into my busy season right now. Obviously, hockey, we stayed busy, and I was obviously busy with you. But being in the paint industry, we've got our 90-day window to sell everything. So we're just jumping in. So actually, hockey works really well for me because we're just kind of coming out of our busy season when hockey starts, and then go through the winter where we're still obviously doing stuff and busy, but not the same breakneck speed as we have June, July, August, September. So it all kind of falls really well into place for me. But yeah, let's dive into it. First of all, we'll get to some comments here. We've got Jared Brown 6305. Hello, my guy. What a season for the Maine Mariners. Yes, and yes. And that's what we're going to talk about here in just a moment, Jared. So thanks for the comment. He also says, and how is everyone doing? Well, we just beat you to that, I guess. We're both doing well. We're both still itching. Mike's itching for more hockey. So he's anyway.
Luckily, we still got it going on.
We got a little bit. And yeah, as we just said, Kansas City up on Florida 2-0 in that Kelly Cup final. And maybe we just start there because that's kind of how I titled this podcast is, obviously a historic year for the Maine Mariners, but as you look at, and I guess we'll just start at the end. We look at how that Wheeling series ended. Then you look at how Wheeling just got kind of run over by Florida, for lack of a better term. I mean, Mike, it's a missed opportunity, do you think, or do you just celebrate the fact it was the best season in Maine Mariners hockey history?
Well, you can't help but wonder what could have been. I mean, that's just natural, right? You're always going to think to yourself, oh man, had we just won one more game, how far could we have gone? I was talking to Wyllum Deveaux about it, who's hanging around at least for the start of the summer here, and he said there was a real feeling that if they had gotten by Wheeling, they were going to win it all. And it's easy to, everybody's confident about their own chances, but just for the fact that we had that great little run down in Florida in February, which was kind of the start of the epic streak in the middle of the season there, confident going into that building. I thought, it's easy to say now that, the Mariners would have given the Everblades a better battle than Wheeling did going down in 5, but you just never know. But, I just felt like the way the Mariners were defensively, and Luke Cavlin, of course, got through the Everblades last year when he was on 12 Riviere. Sure. It would have been definitely not a favorable matchup. That's unfair to the Everblades to say that, but a matchup that you didn't hate, I think, if you were the Mariners going in there. So that being said, I mean, it was a successful season. First ever playoff series victory in team history, most points ever, pushing that Naylor team to 7 games. When you look at the discrepancy in affiliate contracts in that series, Wheeling, I think, had close to 15 guys. The Mariners only had about 5. And that's one of the reasons I think Kansas City has taken it to Florida so far, is the amount of affiliate guys they have playing for them right now. So, I think, again, everybody's competitive, including us here. We would have liked to see what would have happened if the Mariners went up against Florida there. But the reality is you have to look at it as a very successful season, and hopefully a springboard into next season.
Yeah, you had those 3 games back in February, and as good as Maine played in those 3 games, it was in February. It was the regular year. Playoffs are very, very different. So, yeah, we don't know how it would have looked, but to your point, I think there's a lot of kind of indicators that we probably would have put up a much better fight than Wheeling did. I mean, I said it on a podcast, Mike, during the Wheeling series, when we were in the middle of that series. I said, listen, I know Wheeling's good. I know they got good players. They got good affiliate players. There was nothing about that team that wowed me. Or, I mean, goalie, Gauthier was good. But just overall, I as a Mariner fan and someone watching the Maine Mariners as much as I and you do, was nothing about that team that really scared me at all. And so I kind of took the approach of, man, I really think maybe the wrong team won that series. I mean, I know I'm a little bit biased, but trying to be a little objective about it, Mike. I don't know. I don't know what your take is now, 3 weeks after the series.
Yeah, I think it's a fair take. I think you look back at the way the series played out. Obviously, games 1 and 6 both ending in overtime in favor of Wheeling there, and just if the Mariners could have found a way to take one of those games, they probably win the series, assuming the rest of the series plays out the same way, which you can't necessarily do that either. But it was a winnable series. I mean, they had them on the ropes there, obviously going back to Wheeling up 3-2, right? That Ben Allison breakaway in overtime in game 6 is going to haunt him and Mariners fans the rest of this offseason here, where he just couldn't get that puck over the pad of Gauthier or around the pad. And even after he was stopped, Linus Hemstrom came in and just couldn't jab in that rebound. And it felt like that was the missed opportunity. But, I mean, you got to give Wheeling some credit here. I mean, they are a very well-coached team, well-structured. They executed their game plan well in the games that they won, particularly game 7. And, Gauthier obviously was great. And it was frustrating to watch him get lit up by Florida because he gave up some bad goals in that conference final series. And you were thinking, well, where was this Gauthier against us? He was really locked down in a couple of those games, including 6 and 7 there. So, yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to that what could have been line of thinking where you really feel like you had them and you didn't get them. But that's how it goes in the playoffs. It's the story of so many playoff runs over the history of the game of hockey, and it's why it is so hard to win a cup at any level.
Going back to that Allison breakaway, I mean, I was watching it here at home, and I mean, I stood up. I mean, your call was like, for the series win, and I still remember that. And I just and I got to go back and rewatch it. Like, he gets Gauthier moving. I think he gets Gauthier to do what he wants him to do there. He goes down kind of early, and I'm just wondering, is Allison trying to lift the puck up over and just doesn't lift it up over that leg pad? I mean, that's my only thought. Could he have stopped and tried to lift it more? I mean, it's hard to say, right?
Yeah, as you remember, Ben, you were with me in Game 3. He beat him on a breakaway 5-hole, and he tried, and that was a backhand. This time he was coming up the other side of the ice, and he was actually, you know what? I think it was the same side. It was kind of the left side, and he tried to go backhand forehand move. And that when you make that move, it's tough to lift it. You have to hope you're going to be able to drag it around the pad or slide it under the pad. And Gauthier, as good goaltenders do, was able to pin his right pad on the post, kind of push it and keep it out of the net. And I actually talked to Ben. This is gonna make it even worse. But I talked to Ben after the game when I saw him outside getting ready to get on the bus, and he had told me he couldn't remember the last time he didn't score in a breakaway. He was talking about how confident he felt going in on breakaways, and he thought he had him on that move. And it's just funny, it changed the course of the whole series, obviously, and Mariners would have moved on, and who knows what would have happened. But again, that's sports, that's hockey. I mean, trace back all the close calls over the history of sports and how history could have changed if one thing went a different way. And it's also what makes sports great, these moments that we get to talk about. And for as much as that was a heartbreaking moment, there's a bunch of other great moments that I'm sure we'll talk about throughout the night here.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, we'll talk about off-season stuff here in a little while. But Ben Allison, one that I think we all hope will be back in the Maine Mariner uniform in a very short amount of time. He looks really, really good. It looks like he could be special. Let's just get to the comments here before we move on. Stephen Connor saying hello. Hello, Stephen. Thanks for checking in. Jared with another comment here. Yeah, had a great historical season for us. It certainly was. Let's see, another comment. Nothing to see here, nothing to see here, damn it. Sorry. I know it's a developmental league, but there really should be a limit on number of affiliates on the roster at any given time. Now, that's an interesting one, and one topic that does come up from time to time. I can understand why you would think that or feel that way, but if you're the ECHL, you want as many good players as you can in your league to get that draw and have the best quality of talent. So if you're a Pittsburgh and you want to send 10 guys from Wilkes-Barre down, ECHL is like, yeah, give us more of your top end talent. So yes, I get it. It's not maybe always fair. Not every affiliate treats not every NHL club or AHL club treats their affiliates properly or the same way. Let's go back to how it started here. With just in the last couple of years with Dexter taking over ownership, I think we've seen quite an improvement between Providence and Maine. Mike, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. I mean, there's definitely a competitive balance mismatch sometimes when you have one organization that is stocking the fridge, as they say, with their affiliates, and another one maybe takes a little bit of a different approach. And, again, even though the Mariners were kind of outnumbered as far as affiliate players in their series with Wheeling, they still were on the precipice of winning the series. So I think you can still put together a competitive team full of ECHL contracts, where Kowalsky did a great job with that this year. And again, that's not to say there was no help from Providence, Boston, as you just detailed there. There was a lot more help this year, and there has been each subsequent year. But you're right. I mean, the league will never cap it because they want as much talent in this league as possible. And hopefully there's a continual trend of using the ECHL as a developmental league, which has definitely been something you've seen over the last 5-10 years, really each and every year, more and more usage on a broad sense, in a broad sense. And but from a fan perspective, I completely understand the frustration Newfoundland was like that for years. And of
Oh,
course,
yes.
the same folks running Newfoundland at the time are now running Wheeling, the Dubas group there. So, it is what it is, and it's just kind of a reality of the affiliate system.
For sure. Got another comment here from Justine. Woohoo. Section T here. Hello from Section T. Thanks for checking in. She writes in
Shout
again
out to
here.
Section T for the playoffs. Amazing atmosphere they help provide.
Absolutely. Boy, Florida needs to wake up. Yeah, they sure do. They sure do need to wake up if they want any shot of sticking around in that series. Did the series start in Kansas City?
Yep.
All right, so then now they're heading back to Florida for I guess it would be 3.
Yeah, a couple lopsided wins for Kansas City. I think it was 6-0 and 5-2 or 6-2. Shocking. I mean, I wonder when the last time Florida lost a game by 6 goals. I mean,
yeah,
they are, as consistent as it gets over the last 5+ years. And I know Kansas City is a good team. They were the best team in the league during the regular season, but I did not see
without Max Andreev. I mean, they
Yep.
lose a guy like Andreev, and then they're still that good. That's impressive.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Another one here from Nothing to See here. The scariest part of Wheeling was their sheet of ice, how small it was, complicated their play style, tight man defense. Yeah, that's, I was, quite honestly, I didn't know until the playoffs that they had a shorter sheet of ice. What's the defense to that? Like, how does the league let that happen? Or is this more common than we realize?
I believe it's unique to the league. I don't know. I do know, boy, and I don't want to speak to other teams in this league, but I know in other league, the NAHL, a couple of teams had Olympic size sheets. In fact, the Keystone Ice Miners, the very first team I worked for coming out of college, played on a Olympic size sheet. So it's not unprecedented, but I understand why people are turned off by it. You want to have uniformity across, but I never heard anyone make any excuses about it, whether it was players or coaches. I asked Rick about it every time we played there during the regular season and then in the playoffs. And, everybody just kind of talked about adjustments you have to make. And, it's certainly a home ice advantage for them. But, to be honest, it's not all that different than, when the puck bounces off the boards, weird in one barn versus another barn. There's home ice advantages for different reasons, whether it's your crowd or little quirks like that. And I think we saw it. I mean, the Nailers committed, I think, more icings than the Mariners in those games at West Banco in the series. So yeah, maybe they were able to use it to their advantage just because they were accustomed to it, and maybe they structure their game and some of their offensive and defensive systems around it. But, man, once you play 3 or 4 games in that building, even as a visitor, these guys can adjust quickly. So I don't think anybody on the Mariners would be making excuses as to, losing those games because of that. But again, I totally understand the perspective of the fans on why they see it as unfair.
Indeed. And Jared, I do see your comment about looking at players for next year. We will get to that topic. We've got Mike Nicholas checking in, saying hello. Hello, Mike.
We got a lot of our Mixler regulars in here already. Nothing to see here.
We do.
And the mechanics.
Yeah, I love it. Love it.
They missed the Mariners broadcast network.
Oh, no, that's great. That's great. Well, let's talk about head coach and GM Rick Kowalsky. New coach, new GM, new culture, Mike. And you were there for every moment of it. How impressed were you with Rick this past year?
Very impressed. I mean, I'm biased, but I think he should have been the ECHL Coach of the Year for what he did. And for me, it's all about the injuries and adversity that the team faced throughout this season. I mean, for anybody that read my season recap over at marinersdomain.com, I did a whole paragraph on it. I mean, you were without your captain for basically the entire season. Zach Massicott, arguably your number 1 defenseman going in, out almost the entire season. Ty Shoveldayoff, one of your key affiliate players, out for almost the entire season. And he put the best team in Mariners history on the ice. And this was considering he took over was it late July, early August of last summer.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, I
And
want to say early August, right?
and
Yeah.
the team was already somewhat built. It wasn't necessarily his team. And I think he did an amazing job making the most of what was left by Terrence Wallen. That's not to say Wally left him a bad team, but coming in, it's not your team, right? You didn't build this squad, and he quickly picked out the guys that would fit his system. And then when he realized the need to make some changes in January and bring in Antonio Venuto and Zach Jordan, which was the key kind of week of roster moves that sparked the rest of the season. He identified that. He did it. He found some diamonds in the rough in Owen Gallatin and Nick Anderson. He, just did an amazing job making tweaks at the right times, dealing with short lineups, realizing or being reminded, I guess, that when you're coaching in the ECHL, you have to, it's a day-to-day thing with the roster. And that's even when you're healthy. You guys got guys getting called up, sent down, all kinds of stuff. And he handled it like the pro that he is. He commanded respect from practice number one. The guys, I think, would run through a wall for him by the end of the year. And, he was just, from my perspective, a pleasure to work with. Amazing with the media. I mean, it helps to bring a guy in that is so seasoned that, those press conferences, it was like second nature to him. Doing those press conferences and all the other stuff that came along with making a deep playoff run. So just I can't say enough good things about Rick. He already had a connection with the city from his days with the Pirates and just seamlessly slotted back in as the head coach. And I think all the praise that he's been granted by the fans is well-deserved.
Yeah, of course, he has his regular spot there on Mondays on 96.3. Always a good listen. And it's been on my podcast a couple times. He came on early, too. I think he had only been, I don't even think he was in town yet. And he came on. So you guys helped me with that. And just, yeah, very generous with his time. And I would just love to just talk to him for a couple hours because the amount of stories this guy
Yeah.
has just from his time in the American League, time in the NHL with the Devils. And, going back to those Pirate days as a player, man, I mean, I just was tip of the iceberg with some of the stories. And I was just like, oh man, this is some good stuff. So, but beyond that, to your point, his ability just as a development coach, as someone who commanded respect. And he was very open that he had never really been a GM before. This is a first for him. And man, oh man, what an impressive job with, as referenced very well, coming in late. He'll lose a couple key guys like, Shovel Day off and Deveaux, all the defensive injuries, having to manage all that. And you did what you did on the ice was, nothing short of absolutely impressive. So, yeah, as much as we, we all want everybody to get promoted, right? We want to see our guys get up there, but let's hope he sticks around here for another year or two at least, because that would be, it'd be great to see. I think a lot of good building blocks happen this year.
To your point about having stories for days, it's funny because, and I think we're going to talk about it later, but just for example, when we went through all the travel mess in the middle of February, they were trying to get home from Bloomington. He always has some story from the past to relate to it, where some team got stuck at an airport or had to fly the day of a game or whatever. And it kind of kept things light, especially into the playoffs there, when I was trying to coordinate our travel basically by the seat of my pants, not knowing if we were moving on, when we were going to fly, all this stuff. And, some of the stories he told me made me think, wow, I don't have it so bad.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, that was a quite the task for you this year as well. All that juggling bus schedules and flight schedules and hotels. And I have a hard enough time just when I travel, just for my own job. I don't know how you did it, but that's awesome. But yeah, great year for Rick Kowalsky, and obviously, like we said, has kind of reset a foundation here. And even though there's a ton of change in the ECHL from year to year, I think he's definitely put some building blocks in place that we should be able to build on going into next season.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, I think it always helps when you win and you have that kind of that culture, that winning culture that you've built, and it makes it so much easier to bring guys back year to year versus you have a year you didn't make the playoffs. Maybe a lot of guys went to Europe, and this was kind of the story of the 24-25 Mariners. And, guys start having second thoughts, or they start looking at other options, even though they've always loved everybody that's come through here for the most part has loved the city and the state and the fan base. But I think when you have a run that you did, the type of run that you did, it makes it so much easier to bring guys back. I'm just so excited to see how he's able to build around that as well, kind of supplement whatever holes that are left from guys that don't come back or guys that he decides not to bring back. And I think it's going to be a very, very good team.
Talking about Wyllum Deveaux, captain, game 1. I mean, just what a brutal injury. And I know he stuck around the team. I had him on the podcast right after the strike, I think. You know him. He's been here for a little while now. I'm sure you have a good relationship with him. What was after that happened? Like, what was his attitude? What was his mood? I mean, it must have been pretty bleak for him after that first game.
Well, first of all, he's one of the more competitive guys I've met, which is probably one of the reasons he is captain. And, he's able to, as coaches like to say, drag guys into the fight. And you can't do that when you're not playing, obviously. But, he handled it about as well as I think you can handle it, knowing that he was just going to have to be that off-ice leader. And even though you're still around the boys and you're a player on the team, you're not traveling, you're not in the fight all the time. That was tough on him. But Deveaux is a guy that always has a good pulse on what's happening off the ice, and I think that served him really well. Helped him stay engaged with what was going on by just being around, still helping when he could help us up in the front office, and be a guy that was still kind of an ambassador for the team. He was present. He was always present as he rehabbed and tried to work his way back. And there was always this kind of understanding that, we're going to have to hold him back from rushing back too soon and re-aggravating or making it worse. And I think he did a good job of fighting that internally because, he's very self-aware. He understands, he understood the danger of pushing it too much, but at the same time, he knew his body. He knew that he could get back in time to play those last 5 or 6 games and be ready for the playoffs. And I heard Rick talking about it at some point that, it's so admirable what he was able to do because this was a very good team. I don't think there was any guaranteed spot in the lineup for him, even as the captain. If he came back, didn't play well, probably would have sat. And but he forced his way into the lineup, played really well over the last 8 games, and he had a great playoffs. He had, I think, 6 points in the playoffs. And it's funny when you look at it. I said it in the article. He played double the amount of playoff games that he did regular season. So,
right.
True captain journey for him throughout the year to battle through everything he battled through. And he looked like his old self, scored some huge goals. The goal he scored in Game 7 of Round 1, that's an iconic goal in Mariners history. I don't think they win that game if he doesn't bury that breakaway. So a guy that I hope is here for the long run, and he's just such a great representative to wear the C for this organization.
Yeah, and he kept himself in such good shape, even though he was obviously nursing the injury. When he came back, he was ready to go. There was no real lag. He looked like he hadn't missed a beat from a cardio perspective, from a legs perspective. I'm sure he felt it, but just us watching it, I was like, wow, no, he looks like he's good to go. So great. We talk about his leadership piece too as the captain. I was able to talk to him during the strike a little bit. It was right, of course, during Christmas as well. I think it was Christmas Eve. He and I were having a chat just via text message. And, he was just sharing some of his thoughts. And what I love about what he had to say, and what the team, of course, they put out their statement during or right after the strike, is that the players and Dexter and the team were all very much on the same page, that they had nothing but great things to say about Dexter and the treatment from him, that this strike had very little to do with their personal relationships, it was obviously more of a league kind of thing. But I just thought the statement he helped draft and put out was, again, really shows the character and shows the relationships, and really made that C on his sweater shine, I think, in that moment.
Yeah, no question. I mean, it was a tough moment for everybody. I mean, there was a lot of, um, I'm trying to think of the right word, but it was a contentious time, and that everybody, um, there was a lot of uncertainty. We weren't sure when we were going to play again. There were rumors about it happening right leading up to the holidays when we were out in Trois Rivières, and um, but the good thing about it, like you said, was everybody had the same goal, getting back to playing hockey, and um, the players just wanted to make sure that they were properly compensated, and I think players around the league did a great job of handling it the right way and communicating communicating properly, and fortunately, it was obviously a very short work stoppage there, where ultimately no games were missed, and obviously a couple games postponed but rescheduled to the end of the season. And yeah, I mean, it was not a fun time, and it something that kind of divided the season. I feel like there were two different seasons. There was the pre-strike and then the post-strike. But at the end of the day, it's water under the bridge. They got a good deal done between the league and the PHPA, and sets them up well for the future.
Yeah, it'd be great to not have to talk about that next year as we go back into it, right? I know a lot has been made of that infamous February trip. We talked a little bit about the Florida piece of that, but that was just a bizarre trip. I mean, not just the winning, but some of the travel issues, the fact that you were in what, three or four different cities during, I think, four different cities, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And it seemed to be, and I'll ask you this, Mike, was that a catalyst to the playoff run? I know it only, went two rounds, but do you feel like that was a catalyst, just that culminating moment of that trip?
I do, and that's why I chose to open the season preview article, with that moment. The team was trending in the right direction. Obviously, it was after the 2 out of 3 wins in Florida. So you could, if you wanted to make that the point that it turned, then I would understand that as well. But it was just that kind of forced team bonding that happened on that road trip that I think galvanized the guys the rest of the way. Feeling very good coming out of Florida, taking 2 out of 3, 2 dramatic wins, 2 hard fought wins. And then they went out to Bloomington and just continued to play solid hockey. We expected to fly home. For the fans that don't know the story, we expected to fly home Monday after playing 3-3 in Bloomington, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And just before Sunday's game, we got word that Monday's flight had been canceled. There was a big storm that hit New England. I'm sure people remember, or mid-February, or it was late February, right around the time of the Olympics. And so complete the sweep and have to break the news to the guys that were kind of stranded. And to your point, we were in Bloomington. We bust our way to Indianapolis, bust our way from Indianapolis to Erie, PA, Erie, PA to Glens Falls. And that was over the course of 3 or 4 days, going straight to our next road game instead of tagging up at home, which was the original plan, of course. And going into Glens Falls for that game, the Thunder had won 10 in a row. They were the hottest team in the league. I was convinced they were going to win the division. They were a wagon at the time. And the Mariners went in there, exhausted from this travel. They just spent back-to-back 8-hour days on the bus. I think we did get a practice day in the Thursday before, but they won 5-0. They dominated Adirondack, and it was like, wow, I mean, something special is happening here. Then literally left Glens Falls after the game, bus through the night to Worcester, a short trip, but we got into Worcester 1 a.m., right? Beat Worcester the next day. Then had to play home on Sunday, 3-3 in 3 different cities. Game was tied at 2 late in the third. Linus Hemstrom just throws a puck into the slot, banks in off the Trois defender. I think that made it 8 in a row, 7 in a row, something like that. And you just knew that this team was legit at that point. And then, of course, you rejoined me, Ben. We had those back-to-back OT wins against Adirondack to get it to 10 and 11 in a row. And they really never looked back. I mean, their record from February on, they were something like 35-9-2 or something. I pulled the exact numbers in the article again if people want to read it, but that was definitely the moment. I mean, for whatever reason, you could say it was the team bonding. You could say, they just hit their stride at the right time. But, I think that was definitely where it happened.
Yeah, I mean, 8 hours in a bus, you really get to know people. Don't you?
A lot of cards. They play a lot of cards.
I like that. Oh, man. Something else, man. Well, let's kind of talk about something really, really good. The first ever playoff series win for the Maine Mariners. I know, guys, yes, it didn't end the way we wanted to. We feel like we should still be playing, but what a first round that was against those damn Adirondack Thunder, Mike. I was very fortunate, humbled, and lucky enough to be in the booth with you for those 4 home games. But just take us through it, man. What was it like for you? You've been here the entire time. You got to finally witness this for yourself.
Yeah, it seemed fitting that it happened against Adirondack, a team that I think played more than at this point. We've played more games against them than Worcester. All the regular season meetings, the playoff series from 2024, which was the last time the Mariners had been in until this year, and just with the way the regular season series went, it just seemed destined to happen. We had a lot of talks down the stretch there. Is it going to be Adirondack? Is it going to be Reading? We knew it was going to be one of the two. And, a lot of talk about who would you rather play. But I'm glad it was Adirondack. It's easy to say now because we won the series. But, I joked about it on one of the games, Ben. I think it might have been game 7, about how, even though we played them so many times, I never really got sick of playing Adirondack. The games were so fun. I mean, the teams were so evenly matched. There was, the whole, our fans getting on Wheeler, their fans getting on, everybody, because that's what the Adirondack fans do, and all in good fun. And it was just a blast. And then, there's a personal element to me. Rob Lapolis, the voice of the Thunder, is a longtime friend of mine. We went to college together, and we've had these great battles over the last. He's been with them for 4 years now, I believe. So half my time in Maine, he's been there. So, but I mean, winning it in the fashion they did was obviously a treat. Winning that game 1 in overtime on the shorthanded goal by Andreev, going into Glens Falls, taking 2. And then the amazing game 7 with the dramatic Nick Anderson goal late, and then the Sean Element goal, which pretty much blew the roof off the building. And as I said earlier, credit to Section T and all the fans for, even on some less than ideal playoff dates, middle of the week, making that place feel full and sound full. And, it was amazing. I can check off game 7 win off the broadcasting bucket list. I can check off double overtime, although I guess that was in the next round. But still, the point is the same. It was so much fun, and I'm glad you were along with me on the ride, Ben, because you helped to make it even more fun, honestly.
Well, I'm sorry for any injury you suffered at that game 7 when Element put that goal. I think I punched you pretty hard in the shoulder. So
didn't feel a thing.
Oh, good. You got plenty of time to recover. So no, that was honestly, for me, having the chance this year to be in the booth with you and to be able to witness that year 1 for myself was pretty incredible. I feel very, very lucky to have been a small part of it. So great to see that again, a great building block, I think, for the organization, for the team moving forward. And here we are. We're in the silly season, Mike. We're in the off season. I know we still got the Kelly Cup going, yes, but we do have our June calendar protection list. We have future trades, and of course, free agency is at June 23rd, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. I know protection lists are what they are, but what can you share with us? Is there anything newsworthy to talk about around the Mariners and the protection list?
Well, the protected lists are due to the league tomorrow, actually, so we'll be seeing them either tomorrow or Tuesday, depending on when the league wants to announce them. But just as always, as I say every year to the fans, don't read too much into it. The protected list, as well as the season-ending roster, which is basically the final step of the rights retention process. It's just a list of players whose rights you get to keep going into the signing period. So basically everybody that was on an ECHL deal last year is most likely going to be protected. And again, all that means is basically you have rights. You have the first right to sign them, right? So when that signing period begins on June 23rd, everybody that was on an ECHL contract last year, Mariners have an opportunity to talk to them first and try to get a contract for next season. And so that list that comes out tomorrow, people, I don't blame them. They're so hungry for news, even though the season's only been over for a few weeks. They see names and they get excited and this guy's back, that guy's back. No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. They still have to sign. And then also on the other side, if you don't see names like Kalmakov, Kavlin, Massacott, because you remember those guys were on AHL, NHL deals, so they are not eligible to be on that protected list. So it doesn't mean they won't be back, but they literally by rule cannot be on that list because they were on either Providence or Boston deals. So just something to keep in mind as those announcements drop over the next couple weeks. There's also a future considerations trade deadline that, frankly, I'm not 100% sure if we have any trades out there in the ether still. There were a lot of them throughout the season. They're a little bit hard to keep track of because there's, trades that get fulfilled. There's trades that kind of just fade and the future is never actually, it's just kind of a handshake agreement. The future is sometimes turned into cash. So I'll have to check in with Rick on that and see if there's anything that needs to be squared away there. But even if that happens, those players, again, still need to be signed starting June 23rd. So that's kind of the next couple of weeks. But again, starting June 23rd, players can start re-signing. And then, of course, at any time, players can sign NHL, AHL deals. I believe Dylan McKinnon has already signed with Providence. They announced that a couple of weeks ago.
Two-way contract as well.
So he, I believe, will still be protected because he was on an ECHL deal last year. So I believe he can still be, but obviously it's kind of irrelevant. He stays in the organization now that he's on a Providence deal. So he'll either be there or here most likely. But that, those are kind of the things to keep an eye out for. And then, the bigger name, or not the bigger name, but the free agents that you see come in from other organizations usually happens later on, usually after that July 1st period. So.
Yeah, of course, Evan Gold, GM of the Providence Bruins, assistant GM. There's Don Sweeney up in Boston. He's around Portland a lot, has his thumb on the pulse of what's going on here. We have seen improvements with maybe Providence trusting Maine a little bit more under Dexter's ownership, and of course with Rick here now. Do you get a sense, because Evan, you obviously have a relationship with him. Do you get a sense that where he can help, he's going to continue to try to help and be part of the building the foundation here as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, it's always a process, building trust over the course of seasons. And it also, year to year, it can change depending on what the needs are. And I think this season was obviously a great season for all three teams in the affiliate ladder. And Boston didn't, there's always going to be injuries, right? But they were pretty happy with what they had. Providence was pretty happy with what they had. And then the guys that were down here, unfortunately, a couple of them were injured for long stretches, but, they got a pretty good look down here. So you didn't actually see too much movement, I think, this year because everybody was happy with their teams. And obviously the Mariners at the bottom probably were more injured than anybody and had to deal with that. But yeah, no, I mean, I think you've seen some great success stories and some guys. I mean, I don't want to jump to the Stanley Cup Finals here because I know we have a segment on it, but look at what Brandon Bussey did last night. He's obviously not in the Bruins organization anymore, but he's a guy that developed within the Bruins organization, and that included a stop here in Maine. And so I think, you've seen examples of utilizing the Mariners here, and it's only getting better. And it'll be very interesting to see what guys get invited to camp next year, because at the Providence camp, that is, because at the end of the season, you saw Andreev get a look, you saw Hudson get a look, and you wonder. I think Cronin was in Bruins rookie camp last year, and of course probably should have been an all rookie. I think he got snubbed from the ECHL all rookie team this year. It had a great playoffs, so I think those are names that could potentially get a look for AHL deals this year. And of course, you got Kalmakov and Massacott and Cheveldayoff and Perreault and all these other guys that had pretty darn good seasons in Maine. So yeah, I mean, I think you're going to continue to see that relationship grow, and it's so great to have this geographic trifecta where it's just a short ride between all three cities.
Yeah, it really is nice geographic, not really a triangle, but I-95, I guess, corridor. So it's good for the organization overall. Um, and I know we can't really talk about player specific stuff right now, Mike. I know a lot of people want to know, oh, who do you know? Who do you think's coming back? And we have no idea. Like it's way too early to tell. Some of these guys are going to get American League deals, hopefully with Providence, but maybe elsewhere, maybe in other organizations. We don't know that yet. I guess I will say the one player I do want to ask you about is a player we did not see last year, Mason Primo. I don't know what you can share about his journey. Obviously, he was on the roster, never really got here. Is he a guy that Rick might continue to talk to and maybe try him out again next season?
Yeah, I mean, it was a health. All I can say it was a health related thing with him, and I don't know what the status is of that. I think again, this is just going to be pure speculation, but if he is ready to play hockey and cleared to play hockey, I would imagine that's a conversation that they would like to have. I mean, he's a guy that has pretty highly touted, has been on AHL deals before, obviously has NHL bloodlines, and is a big power forward type guy that was in the plans this year, and it just didn't happen. So again, he'll probably be on that protected list. He was on an ECHL deal all year and just sat there on IR. So not again, knowing nothing about his status, just going off his track record, I would think he's someone that they look into. And I mean, there's nothing to lose. I think bringing him back to camp if he's ready to go and seeing what he's got, because obviously there was a reason Rick picked him up in the first place there. So again, I have minimal information on it, but he's a guy that I was looking forward to watching him play here. And he was around for a brief period of time, and I got a chance to, have a small interaction with him, and he seems like a great guy, and hopefully get a chance to get him to know him a little bit more if he does come back. So yeah, I know I was thinking about that myself earlier about, is he a guy that'll be in the cards? And I just don't know, but I'd certainly it's intriguing. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, for as good as the team was, if you could have had him on this roster and healthy, man, oh man, I think he's one of those kind of difference maker type guys. So yeah, more to come. Of course, I have 15 other players I want to ask you about, Mike, but I know it's going to be a nothing burger if I waste.
We've already gone for 48 minutes.
I know, but. And to that point, just a quick word from our lovely sponsors here at DraftKings, guys. It all comes down to this, a best-of-7 battle.
For Void in New York.
Oops. Sorry. It all comes down to this, a best-of-7 battle, and DraftKings has you covered every step of the way. The DraftKings Sports app is now available in all 50 states and includes all markets. Sweat every shift of the series all in one place with one app. New DraftKings customers sign up with code THPN, spend $5 to get $200 in rewards within 21 days. That's code THPN in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Bet with DK Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, that text pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Void in Ontario. Event contract trading with DraftKings predictions involves risk of loss. Sportsbook bonus bets expire in 7 days. $50 in predictions dollars issued weekly for 3 weeks expire in 1 year. Redeem one non-withdrawable reward. Availability varies. Predictions offer void in New York. Ends June 28. Terms at dkng.co/audio.
Here we go. And there. All right, we're back. Sorry, I am still getting used to all this live streaming stuff, guys. So
live television.
Thank you. I know, right? And thank you to DraftKings for all their sponsorship here with the Maine Hockey Report and the Hockey Podcast Network. Guys, keep the questions coming in. If you have more Maine Mariner questions, more ECHL questions, more just, hey, summertime questions, keep those going. We are going to turn the page right now briefly to talk about the Stanley Cup Final. Holy bananas, Mike. What in the bleepity bleep are we? I mean, those are just three incredible incredibly entertaining games. If you're a casual hockey fan, or if you're just someone that I'm going to check the sport out, you got to be like, what is this magical thing I'm watching? Because this has been just electric.
Unbelievable. I mean, I was joking with somebody before the finals about, oh, Vegas, Carolina, this is exactly what the league wanted for ratings, sarcasm.
Yeah.
But boy, I mean, I don't even know how you could have asked for a better start to the series. I mean, from like you said, pure entertainment value. The league's got to be loving it from a fan recruitment standpoint. I mean, that these type of situations, championship series. I mean, all joking aside about ratings, like they draw in casual fans or non-fans. And if you've been watching these games as a non-fan, how are you not a fan now? I mean, it's been unbelievable, just the back and forth, whether it's the punch counter punch or the big lead that gets surrendered. You have overtimes, you have controversial goals going under review, amazing individual performances, hat tricks, unlikely heroes. There's still at least 2 games to go in the series, and hopefully more, probably more. So, hats off to both teams. I certainly did not expect this level of entertainment value, and they have somehow exceeded all expectations, even if you were expecting high entertainment value.
I know there was a narrative coming into this series. I listen to a lot of NHL radio in the car because I drive, 50, 60,000 miles a year. So I pay for that Sirius XM subscriptions, the one bill I don't mind paying every year. But there was a lot of talk, a lot of those talk shows that, this is going to be a boring series. It's, Carolina, they play this boring stuff, quote unquote, boring style of hockey versus Vegas, which everybody hates now, and including myself a little bit, because again, they've done my boy Bruce dirty, and I'm still not over that. I think Cassie's getting a raw deal there, and you come fight me if you want on that one. I that's the hill I'm willing to die on, but man, oh man, that narrative is just out the door because this has just been such an incredible series. Mike, there are 7 or 8 different topics. I mean, blown leads, Mitch Marner, goalies for game 4, goalie interference, McNabb's return. Like, where do you want to start?
Yeah, I know. Well, first of all, just touching off the boring narrative, you understand why that came up, because think about the teams that were defeated in the last round. Colorado, which is kind of considered the most entertaining team in the NHL, and Montreal, which was certainly a more exciting brand of hockey than Carolina plays. And both Vegas and Carolina are known as defense-first teams, and it has not played out that way, obviously, in the series. So, like, again, like I understand why people were running with that kind of storyline, but it's been anything but. But I mean, I think the place to start would just be last night's game. I mean, a 4-0 lead at home, and you blow it in the third period, then you still find a way to win. And I was texting Rob Lapolis to get a second mention of the stream because, of course, a game that you were not with me, Ben, but April 8th at the Cross Insurance Arena, Adirondack was up 5-0. The Mariners came back to tie it at 5, and Adirondack still won the game in a shootout. So it was kind of reminiscent of that. Vegas chokes a 4-goal lead and wins in double overtime. But, I mean, wow. I mean, that what Carolina did to come back in that type of environment and make it a game and be within inches of winning the game. And then Brandon Bussey, the Mariners alum himself, holding them in the game. And yes, I do think he should be starting game 4, just to jump ahead on that. But I think last night's game was just something else. And it's, I mean, I guess I'll let you take it from here, but that's just kind of my initial thought.
Yeah, I think we'll start maybe with the goalie situation. I do think that Brayden McNabb has an opportunity if he wants to go back to Anderson for game 4, at least to start. I do think he has a road to do that because Anderson, up until this point, up until that second period, had been playing really good hockey, really, really good hockey. Going back to years ago when he was healthy and this and that, he was really looking like, Freddie Anderson from 7-8 years ago. But I think the leash will be very, very short. I think that you can only make the change once, I guess. You can't go back and then go back again. So the fact he went to Bussey in the middle of a game and he still lost that game, I think does give Brayden McNabb the opportunity. If he wants to go back to Anderson, he can. But I agree with you. I do think that Brandon Bussey was their goaltender all year. He was their starter. 31 wins, 32 wins, something like that, and looked great in that third period after sitting for all those games. So if it's me, if I'm Rod Brind'Amour, because clearly I look like Rod Brind'Amour, right? I got, jacked.
Rod the
That
Bod.
guy, man, holy smokes, that guy scares the heck out of me. But if I'm Rod, man, I'm probably going Bussy. And again, if Brando goes out there and lays an egg in game 4, I guess you'd have to go back to Anderson, but does put him in a tight spot. You look at that second period too, Mike. Of course, Marner with the hat trick. They score 4 goals, but they have 2 others taken away. I know they don't count, but they got 6 by Anderson in that second period, unofficially. And every challenge, every goalie interference call is all going against Vegas. And I'm surprised. I mean, Torts hasn't gone off the rails completely after all. He's like, I know he's muttering under his breath behind the bench, but I'm sure his blood pressure is probably through the roof through 3 games so far.
Yeah, I mean, a guy can only blow up so many times throughout the course of his career. He's getting up there now, and perhaps he's mellowed out a little bit in his old age. But no, I mean, it's interesting too. Like, no goaltender has played well, and I mean, Hart has not played well either for Vegas. It's like, you look at the scores of these games, it almost makes you wonder how these teams got here with that level of goaltending. But
if you're Vegas, can you really go to Adin Hill? Can you really do that?
No,
I mean, I don't think you can.
No, I don't think so either. But yeah, I mean, there's been moments where obviously I think both teams have looked dominant. That's been the fascinating thing for me is, like you said, it could have been 6-0. It could have been 7-0. Marner had a penalty shot,
right?
So when Bussy came into the game, and that was really the key moment to allow Carolina to come back. But then, in the third period, the Hurricanes were dominant. So I don't know that I've seen a final series where you just have these huge stretches where one team dominates. It's usually a lot more back and forth, and it has been back and forth as far as kind of dramatic moments in the first 2 games were like that. But yeah, just kind of a strange series, but a good series. And like you said, I mean, there's just so many directions you can go. But I will say, had Vegas lost that game, the series might have been over in 5. I mean, do you come back from blowing a 4-0 lead at home? I don't know how you come back from that, but obviously they found a way to win, and now they lead the series.
I saw a real funny meme on Facebook earlier today it was 4 panels. It was one of the Vegas logo, then another one of Vegas with the Atlanta Falcons logo coming into play. Then the third panel was more Falcons, and then the fourth panel was Atlanta's gone. It was of course, going back to that Pats Atlanta Super Bowl, the 26-3, or what was it? Jeez, I can't remember now. 26-3. I should remember that. 27-3, 24-3. What was that? 24-3. Yeah, I think you're right. Someone comment if you remember, because I clearly have forgotten. But just a funny meme. But when you look at the game last night, Carolina was almost 60% in the faceoff.
28-3. Let's get that before
28-3. There we go. We got it. Took us a minute. Holy smokes!
Boy, we're gonna get crushed on that.
Lose my Patriots card on that one. Oh my goodness! I know I got my Brady bobblehead out there. He's looking at me now, like, come on, man. But yeah, you look at some of these numbers. 59.3% for Carolina in the faceoff dot. But a couple things on the Vegas side that have been really impressive is we know that Carolina is a shot-heavy team, and Vegas they're giving up some shots, but they're not giving up what I think Carolina normally is used to, and Vegas has been right there. The second thing that's really impressed me, especially really in games 1 and 3, is I think they've kind of figured out Carolina's man-on-man defense, and I think they found some holes. I think with speed and skill, they're able to create more 2-on-1s and getting Carolina kind of off their skates. I know Carolina, that is their identity. That's their DNA, is man-on-man defense. I just wonder, does Rod take an approach? Okay, maybe in certain situations, maybe we got to play a little more zone, play a little bit more different style defense, or is it just too late for that? You are who you are, and you just got to go with it.
Yeah, I think if Rick Kowalsky was on with you right now, he would say you can't change what got you there.
Yeah.
It's too drastic of a move to make in the Stanley Cup Finals. You just got to trust trust what led you to this point. But I mean, again, to the original point about, is it going to be a boring series? This Carolina team was about as stingy defensively as any team during the season. But I mean, this is why these teams are where they are. I mean, this is why they are still playing hockey in June and nobody else is that, they have very good players and a good game plan. And this Vegas team is pretty experienced, which is just so crazy because I'm sure you feel the same way I do, Ben, is I still remember when they came into the league. And of course, they made the finals in their very first year. But I mean, for the amount of success they have had in such a short period of time, and of course, many of the guys won the Stanley Cup a few years ago with Vegas. So, they know what they're doing here. And Marner looks like a man possessed. And, this is where you're coaching. They have a few days off between games now. So where your coaching really comes into play. What adjustments can you make? We talked about it throughout the Wheeling series with the Mariners. What adjustments can they make to in between games 2 and 3? Obviously, they made some huge adjustments and had a lot of success in 3, 4, and 5. And now what will happen here with Carolina? But I really think this is going to be a 7-game series. I think these teams obviously all 1-goal games here so far. They're so evenly matched, and home road doesn't really seem to matter. They're both good road teams. So I'm just excited for the rest of the series.
Yeah, let's talk Mitch Marner for a second. Any Toronto Maple Leaf fan here on the chat, come on, make some. I want some comments, man. I don't want to poke the bear too much here because I know, listen, you guys are down, and you get the number 1 overall pick and everything, but I mean, they could not wait to run Mitch Marner out of town. I actually had a podcast last summer with Bruins diehards. I came on. Court Lalonde came on. He lives in Toronto, big Bruins fan, but lives in Toronto. And we talked about Marner leaving town, and he was just like between it was on the podcast. He said, I think Austin Matthews is the one that should be running out of town, not Mitch Marner. And when you look at through last year, you look at Marner, you look at we got Matthews, you got hold on. Who are the other Tavares? Who am I missing? Nylander. You look at those 4 guys. Mitch Marner had more points per game in the playoffs than any of those guys. And they could not wait to run him out of town. Couldn't wait. And I'm just so happy that just as a Bruins fan and kind of as much as I'm a big Blue Jays fan, I'm not with you on the Maple Leafs. I'm just so happy to see Marner doing what he's doing and having that kind of success. It's got to just be pissing Maple Leaf fans off to see this happen.
Yeah, well, and Leafs fans, the Leafs are like the Yankees of the NHL, right? They're
the Dallas Cowboys.
There you go. Maybe that's better. Maybe that's better comp. They're impatient, and they get very angry about certain things, and so this has got to be tearing up Leafs Nation, and sometimes that's for a player. That's a great motivator, right? When you don't feel like you're wanted somewhere. And, you can actually draw a parallel with Jack Eichel in Buffalo, his teammate. That was a whole kind of a different mess with how they wanted to handle his neck surgery and everything. And there was difference of opinions. But he was the captain there in Buffalo. And, you could make the case that he was, quote, run out of town. And, obviously I think he was just as good in Buffalo as he's been in Vegas. Now he's had, better players around him there, and obviously he's won a cup. But Marner, again, this is a guy that just looks so motivated right now and seems to have taken his game to another level. And it's going to be, until the Leafs finally get over the hump here, it's going to be one that got away for them.
Yeah, for sure. Last couple comments here on the series. What I love about hockey overall is situations like you saw last night with Brayden McNabb coming back after taking that puck to the face in game 2. Let's read over what he did last night. Coming back, had the full cage on, was a +3, had 2 points, there was 2 assists, played 35-47 in ice time, 49 shifts, just had the 1 hit, had 1 shot, 1 giveaway, but played almost 36 minutes.
That's crazy.
After taking that, I mean, that puck to the face, it wasn't maybe as brutal as McAvoy's from a little while back, but really brutal. His face is pretty gnarly when you look at it. Show me another sport where players do that.
No, you won't find it. You just won't find it. I mean, again, I'll make a Mariners reference. Max Andreev blocked the shot with his face on that very same game I was just talking about, the 1-5-0 comeback. It was in overtime. Blocks the shot with his face, loses a bunch of teeth. Didn't miss a game. Came back with the cage, and he had the cage on through all the way through the middle of the second round of the playoffs. And, just a total warrior. And, I mean, you hear about it when seasons end, the type of injuries that guys, Zadorov, was whatever injury that he was playing on throughout the whole playoffs. Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing what these guys do. And, I mean, looks like only Shea Theodore played more minutes than McNabb on either team in that game last night. So, and had 2 assists too, by the way.
Yeah.
So I mean, just an amazing, that's why hockey's so great. I mean, and it's why you have to respect what these guys do and the sacrifices that they put their body through to try to win a Stanley Cup. And it's why when you do win a Stanley Cup, you'll be immortalized forever because you literally give everything to do it.
Yeah, it's just incredible. I thought there was no chance McNabb was playing a game 3, but here we are. So I'm just going to promote myself again here, Mike, because this is the one time in my life I'm going to get this maybe right. Back in October, if you watch my last video, I put a clip out. I did not do a full, predictions video like I normally do, but I did on that October video say Vegas over Carolina. That way back early October. So it is out there. You can watch it. So
have you clipped it yet?
I've clipped it. It's it's ready to go, man. It's if Vegas wins this thing, I am again. I've gotten 1,000 other things wrong. So I think I had I had Toronto in the playoffs this year. I had Boston out of the playoffs. And I got 1,000 other things wrong, but I got that right, at least to this point. I'm 2 games away from getting that right. But just your thoughts. I mean, obviously we're hoping for 7 games. Mike, where do you think this winds up?
It's tough. It's tough. I have no idea. I would just be throwing a dart at the dartboard, really, and just guessing. I mean,
let's put it this way: who takes game 4? Maybe we'll just talk about game 4.
I think Carolina takes game 4. I think they bounce back. I honestly think the way this is going to go is Carolina wins game 4. Whoever wins game 5 loses game 6. and then, anything can happen in game 7. But I mean, I think if Carolina can get back to the game that they played most of this season, I think they're a better team than Vegas. I think they're a more lockdown team. I think their goaltending is better than Vegas's goaltending. I think Vegas has a better offensive club. But if Carolina can go into that shutdown mode where they don't give up a lot of shots, and they keep you to the outside, and they frustrate you in these one-on-one battles, then I would give them the edge, even though they do trail the series. Over the course of 7 games, if the better team wins most of the time, then I would give it to Carolina. But right now it seems so evenly matched that I think it's a coin flip. I really do.
Well, I think the goalie decision for game 4 could be a real turning point, because if Bussy goes in and plays well and steals the net, maybe steals the series. What a story that would be for our former Maine Mariner, former Providence Bruin.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great, I mean, I feel so happy for the kid. I was devastated that he gave up that goal. I mean, what a fluky way to end that game. Puck just comes off the end boards, hits you in the perfect spot. I mean, anything but perfect if you're Bussy, but
yeah.
I mean, I just remember he was here for such a brief period of time, because when he got called up, we never saw him again. He spent the rest of the year in Providence. But I just remember how he was always smiling and how much of a great attitude he had. And he was kind of your typical quirky goalie, right? I think, if I remember correctly, I think it was him, brought like an Xbox on the bus or something. He had a full setup. I think we were busing all the way down to Norfolk, which is like 12 plus hours. And he played a couple amazing games down there. I think he played 1 home game, and we never saw him again. But I remember that like it was yesterday. And here he is in the Stanley Cup Finals, and it's just treat for me to be able to watch him.
That's a minor league veteran move right there. Like, I know what this bus ride's going to be. I'm bringing my Xbox. I got the setup, man. We're ready to go. We're ready to go. We do have a comment here from Russell Chapman. Any updates on the practice facility in Scarborough? Mike, I don't know if there's anything you can share.
No, I do not have any updates on that. I will look into that and see if we can get you any updates, Russell, but I've not heard anything about that.
I know there's a lot of excitement around what the potential of what that could be, obviously, for the team, for the community here in Southern Maine. But no, good question, Russell. Thank you for that. Well, before we wrap up, I do want to just talk. I know we talked a little bit of ECHL free agency and some of the things we might see. Let's talk NHL free agency. We did have some news over the last couple of days. Big star in the league, captain, centerman Dylan Larkin from the Detroit Red Wings. Unofficially, I guess, because nobody's commented yet. He hasn't commented, the team hasn't commented, but all the words from Elliot Friedman, everybody he is requesting a trade out of his hometown team there in Detroit, and 31 other teams have lined up for this guy. I guess really the question is, and there's a lot of Bruins podcasters out there. You can go and watch those guys. They talk a lot about, should the Bruins go in for this guy? Do they have enough, cap room? Do they have enough assets? Do you trade futures? Do you trade a James Higgins, to go out and get Larkin, try to win now? I'll just give my take on Dylan Larkin. I'd love to see him in a B, in a Spoke B. I absolutely would. He's a big need for us. Two things. Other teams have that same need with more cap dollars and way more assets. Now, Boston's asset pool has gotten better over the last couple of years. I give Sweens credit on that. But, man, I just think there's a bunch of other teams that are going to be way higher up the list. And we know that Larkin has a full no-trade clause. We also know that does Yzerman want to trade someone like him in division? So I know Bruins fans are all like licking their chops, but I'm not going to hold my breath that something happens between Detroit and Boston. What say you?
Well, I think you said it. 31 teams would like to have him, right? I mean, I bet you this is a conversation happening on every podcast across hockey, except probably Vegas
Detroit
and Carolina.
They're
preoccupied, but everybody's dreaming about. I mean, who doesn't want to bring in a guy that is, a gold medalist, an Olympic gold medalist, just a consistent goal scorer, leader, and a guy that is, just a proven NHL stud. I mean, you're right. He's going to cost the King's ransom for whoever, if he does get moved. I was pretty surprised. I mean, obviously, I guess, like you said, it hasn't been technically confirmed by Larkin himself, but if it is true, I was surprised to see it. I thought, I know there's frustration there in Detroit with the way the last couple of seasons have gone, and especially considering their history. They were known as a team that would make it every year. They were perennial cup contenders, if not at least, playoff team. And they could have been in the last few years, if not for a really, really tough March and April, both each of the last 2 years. And perhaps there's frustration. I mean, we have seen it before where guys, they play forever in one city and they just can't get over the hump, and they say, I want to try something else. I want to change the scenery. But, being a hometown guy, and Detroit is still, such a great organization that has history and great fans and all these things. So from that perspective, it surprises me to hear if it turns out to be true. It seems to me like, knowing nothing about the guys, not that I've met him or anything, but he gives off the impression that he'd be someone that would want to win there, right? He would want to be the guy that you build around. And, but I will never blame a player for wanting to win. I mean, that is the number one quality you want, I think, in a player on your team anywhere, is that desire to win. And if it's not going to happen in Detroit, and he's concluded that, and he thinks it could happen somewhere else, then the Wings may have to move on. And like Buffalo did with Eichel, or Toronto did with Marner, you hope to get a really good package for him, because he's very valuable.
Yeah, I mean, he is a Michigan guy through and through. He's in year 4 more years at $8.7 million. So if you do get him, that's nice control and a nice dollar with the salary cap going up. But yeah, he's played his whole career there in Detroit. So yeah, I'm surprised, and we're not going to get into rumors and what may or may not have happened. It might just be a frustration with not winning. Don't really know, but man, oh man, it's going to be a storyline to play out. And don't be shocked, man. Yzerman's the kind of guy where he could be like, "Oh, you want to trade out of here? We're not going to trade you. You can go sit." Don't be
Sure.
shocked if Yzerman takes that approach and says, "Hey, we know who you are. We want you here, but we're not just going to give you away," because you know that with Larkin holding the cards with the no movement clause, teams tend to not have that ability to negotiate like they would, because they're going to have a list of, I don't know. We don't know what the list is. Could be 5 teams. Could be 4. Could be 2 teams. We don't know. Could be only West Coast teams. Like, we don't know what Dylan's list looks like. So that really takes that negotiating power away from the GM, from the front office. So it's going to be a storyline for sure to follow. Obviously, with him, Alex Tuch, obviously in the UFA situation that he is in. I know that's something very near and dear to your heart, Mike. This Larkin situation, though, might be the story of free agency as we enter.
I mean, if he's a guy that turns out to be available, then yeah, I mean, instantly becomes the best player available. I mean, I think you would want to avoid a situation where you're benching your captain and star player and just the circus that would come around along with that. So if it turns out to be a true story that he wants out, I think you will see him moved. But I think we're in that fog of war right now, still early in the offseason, where there's a lot of rumors flying around, and we really won't know what's true until after the Stanley Cup Finals and potentially after the draft.
For sure. Of course, we do have the draft will be coming up right after the Stanley Cup Final. And then free agency will be July 1. I am hoping to have a live stream going again this year on July 1. I'm not sure how busy it's really going to be, because this free agency class, not as deep as others. A lot of teams getting a lot of their work done, including the Bruins. Only a couple of just 1 or 2 UFAs, maybe 1 RFA out there. The biggest one for the Bruins is Victor Arvidsson, who had just a really solid year coming over, really answered the question of where you're going to get goals. He really solidified that second line for Boston. A guy that I would love to see back. Again, cap's going up, but again, with so few goal scorers, that guys like Victor are going to probably get overpaid, because who doesn't want a 25 goal guy who can play second line and be versatile and have a shot mentality. So beyond him, I would say for the Bruins, their biggest need is going to be right shot D. I do think Andrew Peeke is probably not going to be brought back, is my opinion. We know that Sweeney tried to get Rasmus Anderson before he went to Vegas. We're hearing things about Jacob Trouba out in Anaheim being a UFA. Mike, if you're looking at Boston, where do you think their needs are? Where do you think some of their targets might be here in free agency?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would definitely try to bring Arvidsson back. I liked his game in the playoffs. I thought he was a very effective, gritty player. Had a couple breakaways, had a penalty shot. Just very effective in that series against Buffalo. So, and 25 goals in the regular season. So, would certainly try to bring him back. Yeah, defensively, they dealt with some injuries there in the season and in the playoffs. And I'm just looking at the free agents. I mean, Anderson would be a great pickup. Obviously, he's still not even 30 years old. I mean, the top free agent defensemen are all kind of north. I mean, Trouba's only 32, and then you have his Anaheim teammate there, John Carlson, 36 years old, and Shea Weber, 40 years old. I think the Bruins could pick up a little bit more offense to kind of complement Pastrnak and company. I mean, I think, again, you don't want to put too much emphasis on just one playoff series, but I think there were times where they were leaning a little bit too much on one line. I mean, when we did our preview show, we talked about that potentially being a problem for the Bruins, and I think it turned out to be. So maybe add to that offensive depth a little bit, even if it's your third and fourth line. Pick up a couple of guys that can chip in a goal here or there. It's always been a strength of the Bruins historically to have 4 lines that can score, and I think maybe they could have used a little bit more of that come playoff time. But I mean, again, hard to complain too much about it after a 100-point season. You never want to completely run back, and it's impossible to completely run back the same team that you have year to year. But obviously, they have the good foundation with Swayman, Pasternak, some of the McAvoy, some of the, these are good cornerstones to have. I think we talked about it on the last stream we did. That if you're the Bruins, you're in a good spot where you have like the key positions kind of locked down with very reliable players. So then you look to complement from there. And, Sturm coming into his second season here.
Such a great job.
A much better idea of what he's doing. And that's coming off a year where he got coach of the year consideration. So, I don't think there's a lot the Bruins have to do. So going into an offseason that you said where maybe it's a thinner pool of free agents, I don't think that's the end of the world. And, the Bruins have always been good at making very savvy moves in the trade market. So that could be something they do as well.
Yeah, you talk about that core, McAvoy, Pasta. I put Geeky in there, of course, Swayman. But then you have this young group, Fraser Minton, and what he did this year, Hustadinov, and what he did. Of course, now James Hagens only got a small cup of coffee here at the end of the year. Going to be a lot of focus on him, maybe too much focus on him as we go back into camp in September. I guess my question is, with a few assets now, and there's a lot of draft pick capital now that the Bruins have recaptured, and there are some other guys, Matty Pottery, even like a Mason Lohrei, who took some steps, but personally, I'm still not fully sold on what he's going to be for the Bruins. Does Sweeney go out there in a kind of a shorter market where there's not a lot of big time guys and say, listen, we're going to go out and make a big splash in a trade and go grab somebody? Now, there's 1,000 different directions we could go with that, Mike, but do you see Sweeney doing that, or do you think he plays this long game that we've started to play the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that for sure. I mean, and again, when you're in a situation where you're not, I don't think you should panic and, make any drastic changes. Trades could be the way to go. Potentially just trading salary for salary, and you're not, necessarily committing a big dollar amount to a free agent. But Boston's always going to be a place that's attractive to free agents, which works in the Bruins' favor because they have an amazing history. They have a reputation of contending every year, and that I think that's very important. That it makes what Sturm did very important this season, because we talked about on each of our previous two streams about where our expectations were versus where they ended up, and I think they showed this season that, hey, like, doesn't matter who's at the helm here, we're going to find a way to be a contender, be in the conversation, and ultimately give ourselves a chance to win a Stanley Cup every year. And that is all you can ask for if you're a free agent looking at your options. And then you compare that to, again, a team with a great history that has great fans. Boston's a great city. It's a great market for sports in general, as we know. And so that works into their favor for sure. But again, like, we've seen Sweeney make some very, very shrewd moves. And I think it's always a possibility. Again, I think maybe still too early here to, say exactly what's going to happen. And you could use the draft there as well if you want to, plus or minus your picks. But I think it's definitely an avenue that he could pursue.
Yeah, got to be interesting. Just reading off some of the top free agent guys. Another right shot D, Darren Radish, who had a great year as well.
Oh, I like
2
him
goals, 48 assists, 70 points down there in Tampa, of course. We're going to talk Alex Tuch in a minute. Anthony Mantha really put himself back on the map with Pittsburgh this year, 33-31 for 64. You mentioned John Carlson, of course. Patty Kane, but I think if he plays, he's going to probably be right back there in Detroit. Mentioned Arvidsson. I think it's kind of, you got Rasmus Anderson, Bobby McMahon is going to be out there. He had a good year between Seattle and Toronto. Anders Lee, another one who there's been a lot of chatter about Lee maybe not going back to the Islanders. But let's talk Alex Tuch, something near and dear to your heart. I know in his locker room cleanout day, he was gave the canned answer, didn't really give Buffalo fans any indicator either way. given the year he had, given the cap going up, given the fact that the free agent pool is very, very light this year, I'm assuming he's going to test the market. Mike, what do you say?
I was always under the impression that they were going to find a way to get it done, but as each day goes on here, I feel less and less confident in that. I think Jarmo Kekalainen views the situation as having a little bit of leverage because, Tuch is a Western New York native who seems to really like it there and, perhaps would take a hometown discount. And, the team had a great season and he was a leader and, all indications were he wanted to be there for the long run. But I mean, these guys know their worth, and Tuch is a tremendous player who is he's got the rare combination of size and skill, and is a fantastic penalty killer. He plays all situations, and he will command a lot of money out there on the open market. And like we said about Larkin, there's probably 31 other teams. I know I believe you mentioned you'd like him on the Bruins. I think it was you. Maybe it was somebody else.
Why wouldn't I?
I think it was you. Yeah.
I'm selfish. I want all of them. Bring them all.
You'd
over.
be a great. You'd be a great fit in Boston, I think. But yeah. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's still hard to imagine he's not back in Buffalo just because of the way that organization is trending and how he's been such a big part of it since the Eichel trade. He was obviously in the Eichel trade. He was the main piece going to Buffalo in that move. So I don't know. My gut says he finds a way back to Buffalo, but I think it is trending toward testing the open market here. And like I said, there'll be a lot of suitors if that's the case.
Yeah, going to be obviously very, very interesting to see, as you said, if Buffalo can get something locked up before July 1. If July 1 hits and he's out there, man, oh man, that's going to be a story to follow. Last one for you, Mike, and thank you all for checking this out tonight. We appreciate you being here and for all the comments. But one last one, we do want to talk just a little bit because they have the number 1 draft pick, Toronto Maple Leafs. I know we made our comments about Matthews and whatnot before with the Marner conversation. They do have the number 1 draft pick. They had one bad year, and they get the number 1 draft pick. Is it just Gavin McKenna? I know there's another guy out there that's really high up that list, but is it McKenna? And if it is, I mean, what's the ceiling for this kid in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done a ton of research on the available draft picks. I'm not going to, pretend that I'm an expert on all the available players. But yeah, I mean, he seems like the guy that everybody's talking about and is is kind of the presumed number 1. And rarely these days in any sport are we surprised anymore, right? I mean, can't even remember the last draft in any major sport where, we didn't already know who the number 1 pick was going to be,
right.
Or, even the top 2 picks. I mean, I think back to the Eichel McDavid draft. I mean, everybody knew, I think McDavid was going to go 1, but I mean, there was a little bit of question there, I guess. But I mean, just looking at his numbers, 51 points in 35 games at Penn State. And then his last year at juniors there in the WHL Medicine Hat, 129 points in 56 games. Is that good?
Pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, 5'11", 170 pounds, Canadian kid from the Yukon territory. Seems like he would fit in quite well with the Leafs there. And yeah, I mean, let the conspiracy theories flow.
No.
About
No, I'm not here for any of that.
But I'm sure Leafs fans hope that he will make up for the Mitch Marner wound that is currently ailing them. But yeah, it's going to be McKenna.
I'm like you. I'm not well versed yet on the draft. What I do, again, listen to a lot of NHL radio, and they have been talking a lot about it. It does sound like there's a handful of guys, top 6, top 7, that are all going to be really good, but there's no Macklin Celebrinis in this draft. There's no Bedards in this draft. Even with McKenna, a lot of people are ranking him maybe lower than, and Celebrini is a pretty high bar. He's been so good, hence my Sharks hat. So I am a fan. So it'll be curious to see. I mean, we know that anything like a McKenna going to Toronto is going to be just, I mean, the amount of attention, holy bejewelers. That's going to be a pressure cooker up there, especially if he makes the team and is playing with the big club right out of the gate, which I'm sure would be the goal and the hope. But man, oh man, that's going to be a story to worth following. The Toronto Maple Leafs, just in general. Austin Matthews, is he there for the long haul? Is he going to get traded out west? There's a lot of talk about LA, Utah, places like that.
Can you imagine if we had an off season where Matthews and Larkin both got traded?
Be incredible. That would be nuts. I'd be great. Hey, I have a podcast. I would love it, man.
Oh, yeah.
Give me all kinds of fun content to talk about. But yeah, and I've got some guys in the Hockey Podcast Network that cover those teams. So I'd certainly be looking to have some conversations with those guys and girls about those. But yeah, that would be incredible, and incredible for the Atlantic Division to have those two guys gone. Well, that's the end of my list, Mike. I'm actually surprised we got through just about everything we wanted to talk about. But before I let you go, obviously you have your responsibilities there with the Mariners. But anything fun planned for you this summer? Any trips? Anything fun you got on your calendar?
Yeah, I'm hoping to make the pilgrimage to Wrigley Field in August. For those that don't know, I'm a big Chicago Cubs fan, and I have not been there in about 9 years. 2017 was my last trip. I first went when I was 12 years old back in 2003 on a family vacation. And then I lived in Minnesota for 3 years, and I would stop in Chicago. I did it twice in 2017 on the long cross country drive just to catch the Cubs. And myself, my brother, my uncle, and his stepson have made a nice summer tradition of checking out a Cubs series every year. I've recruited them all. They're all Cubs fans now. And, our home base there is Rochester, New York. So, we've been going to Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Toronto, kind of some of the closer road destinations over the last few years, but they've never, my brother has been to Wrigley, but he was, I was 12, he was 10. He probably doesn't remember it all that well. And my uncle and his stepson have never been. So we're planning on going for 2 games in August against the White Sox for the Crosstown Classic. And so working on the logistics of that, probably make another trip home for 4th of July weekend, as I like to do. And yeah, other than that, not a whole lot. I mean, when you live in Maine in the summertime, a wise man once told me, after Memorial Day, you just don't leave. You just stay because it's so nice. And so I know that the weather's been a little bit kind of up and down the last few weeks, but looking ahead, it looks like summer is well on its way, and I'm just looking forward to getting out and enjoying another Maine summer and short off season this time. I mean, we'll be right back at it soon. So.
Yeah, October will be here before you know it, and that'll be a lot of fun. For myself, I am going to be keeping the podcast going. I'm going to be trying more of these live streams. I'm thinking, looking at our numbers tonight, really thank you guys for checking this out. And I am going to have some other guests lined up. Nothing I can announce yet. I am working on some other names, some NHL names. Again, nothing I can announce yet, but Ben's hard at work. Not really knocking on doors, but knocking on doors, text messaging, emailing, annoying the heck out of people, and hoping to get on some really fun and exciting guests. So Mike, thank you as always for your time. Very generous of you here on this Sunday night. Thank you everybody for checking this out tonight. Mike, any final thoughts?
No, I mean, thanks for having me. I mean, like I said, I think I forget if it was on air or off air, but once the season comes to an end, there's a few days where I feel like I need to rest, and then I'm just ready to go again. So I've been reminiscing over the last couple of weeks, listening back to our broadcast together, and I just can't wait to get back in the press box and call some more Mariners hockey. And just if the team is half as good as I think they're going to be next year, knowing nothing about the roster, just the confidence I have in Rick and the guys who I hope will be back. I'm just looking forward to it. And I want to thank you again for all your support all season, whether it was this podcast or obviously on the broadcast with me. I had a lot of fun, and I really appreciate your friendship and collaboration.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I've shared it a couple times on the pod that, walking into the building, and because I'm not a professional like you, getting the nerves and getting that. And then once that puck, really once the national anthem hits and it comes back up to our feed, it's like, all right, I'm ready to go. that kind of the nervousness started to go away a little bit. But yeah, I can't wait for next year, and I'm certainly very open and willing to come back and be with you for as many games as you'll have me. So, well, guys, thank you again. I hope everybody has a lovely Sunday night. Enjoy the rest of the Stanley Cup Final. Enjoy the rest of the Kelly Cup Final. And until next time, be kind, show love, and God bless.